In our lesson last week, we learned to use MAMP and we created a database with MAMP. And the database we created was a cars database. Now, I've just completed a video prior to this one, which was how to make a website that talks to that cars database. And if you're interested in doing that, you should watch that video. This video is going to be if you want to make a Python file that talks to that database. So they're two separate things. The first video is if you want to make a website as your front end for the user to use. And this one's more if you want to make a Python file. So you make your own application that you want to have as your front end that the user uses. Now, first thing we'll do is have a quick look at the database. So I'm just going to start my server here. I've got MAMP open and I've just clicked start. And remember, when you start it, you should get this welcoming window pop up. And I can go to tools and I can go to PHP My Admin on the left hand side. And I can click there and you can see my database here. There it is. It's called car database. And the table is called cars. And if I click on that, you can see we've got 6 different cars entered in here with a little bit of information. We can see the structure. We did all of this in the lesson last week, and if you want a refresher on that, you can watch the previous video, or you can watch this video. I'll show you some stuff really quickly and you just pause the video and go back and create it. But essentially that was where we made our database. Now, when I made the database, I said to you that MAMP uses a folder in the applications folder called MAMP in there, and we use what's called htdocs. And inside that htdocs, I created a folder called cars. And in that cars, I had different files in there that we used, especially for the website. But the one I wanted to show you is this one called car data and car example. They're the 2 SQL files. So if I open those in brackets, that might just give you a bit of a refresher of what we did in class the other day. Where's my brackets? It's opening up right now. Now remember, we created a database. We used a SQL database. I said to you, write the SQL code in brackets first so that you could always go back and check it and look at it. Now this is the code we use to create the database. We created a database called car database, used car database, create a table in there, and then we put all those things in there. ID, brand, model, year, color, type, and fuel. And we talked about data types. So that was the creating of the database. Then we inserted some data. We inserted 4 different cars in here. So that's where we inserted some data into the database. And then in my last video, I inserted another car in there and a few other things. So my database is updated a little bit. So if I can go back to my web start and just have a quick look at it. And if I go to tools, PHP My Admin, and I go to my database and I click here, you'll see we've got 6 cars in there now instead of 4, right? So that's where we're at with the database. So it's all working. So now we want Python to talk to it, not a website. We're talking about Python now. Now, with the website video, the first thing I did was a connection test. So we're going to do the same thing in Python. We're going to do a connection test.py, connection_test.py. That's one thing that we're going to do. But before we do that, we need to look at the setup of your Python. So you've got your Python on your computer, which runs and everything's great, but we need to change one setting. In fact, what we need to do is import a library so that it can talk to the database. Now, you should know how to open a terminal window, right? So this is a terminal window. For me, I go down onto my dock. I've got a terminal window here. If you don't know how to do that, you can go up to the search and you can write terminal and it'll show you terminal window, and you double click on it and it comes up like this. It should have the name of your computer, whatever it is there, and it's ready for a command to do something. Now the first command we're going to do, the only command you need to do, is this one here, which says pip3 install MySQL-connector-Python. And what essentially this is a library that teaches Python how to connect to a MySQL database. That's what it does, right? It's a library that lets them talk to each other. Now, pip3 is designed for Python 3 and it's the latest version. If you've got an older version, you might just write pip install MySQL-connector-Python. I would try this one first, pip3 install MySQL connector, and what you do essentially, I'll just show you here, I just copy it from here, I would take it to my terminal window, I would paste it in there, and then I would hit enter and it would run. Now I've already installed it, so I don't want to do it again, I'm not going to install it again, but that's what you would do to install the library into your Python. in your terminal window. That's the first thing you need to do. Then I'm going to close that. I'm going to close out a Word, and I'm going to go to my first Python file, which is my connection test. And in the same sense that we did with the website, we want to test that Python can actually talk to the database. So we say import MySQL connector, that's the library we just installed, and we're saying try to connect to the MySQL connector using the host username, this port 8889, the password root, and the database car database. Now the only thing different here from the website version was we've included the port in here. And again, I said in the website version you can go and you can check that if you want. So if I go to here, I can see at the top here it says port 8889, and it says the server has a local host 8889 and the database is called car database. And if you wanted to look at those other things, you could look at privileges and you could see root, local host, all those sorts of things. You can see some of those instructions if you need them here. You don't need that. I'm just showing you that for information so that in the future maybe you might need to know that. For the purpose of you running this, all you need to do is have that as a connection. So now what essentially is going to happen is it's going to try and connect to the database. It's going to use all of this information, and if it connects successfully, it's going to say connection successful. If it doesn't work, so it's trying that, if it doesn't work, it's going to come up and say error. And it'll normally tell you what the error is, right? It might tell you what that error might be, that the connection didn't work. So let's try it. I've got my database running in the background. I've got my Python here. If I go run module, it'll open up the normal Python window, and it says connection successful. So that means this information here is correct. I've entered the right information to connect to my database, and it says connection successful. Now, you could pause the video here, copy that code down. I'm just going to say options show line numbers. And you can see it's 15 lines, not even that, 14 lines of code. You can copy that down, save it as a connection test, and test it to see if your Python is talking to your database. Now, if it's not, there's a couple of things. Did you install the MySQL connector correctly in terminal? That's the first question. And if it says cannot find library or do not know this library, that means you didn't install it correctly. Second one is, if it says cannot connect, then one of these might be different. Your port might be different, or your database, you might have written it differently. But essentially, that should be correct and that should connect. Now, if all of that worked and it came up and said connection successful, we're ready to move on to the next Python file. So I'm going to close this one. I'm going to open the next one. Now remember, you can pause this video at any time to copy down the code. I'm also going to go option and show line numbers again so we can talk about where we're up to. And you'll see here, that there is essentially the connection test file that we just did. It's pretty much exactly the same, right? It connects, it checks that the connection's working, and it gets you on. Then it prints out on the screen two options for you to choose. Do you, 1, add a car to the database, or do you, 2, view the cars that are on the database? And these are the same two options that we had in the website video that we did previously, except this time it's in Python. So the user inputs their choice, right? So they're going to choose either a 1 or a 2 to choose which one. Now, if they choose 1 to add data, in this section here, this is how they add data, and it's pretty simple. It's a whole pile of variables that are going to store the information that the user inputs. So if they choose number 1, we're going to have a variable called brand, and it's going to have whatever the user inputs as the brand. Model, whatever the user inputs. Year, whatever the user inputs. Color, type, fuel, so on and so forth. Then we have this line of SQL code, and this SQL code is the same pretty much as we did on the website. It's insert into cars under the headings of brand, model, year, fuel, type, color, and the values. Now this one has a little interesting function in it here. It has like a percentage sign S, percentage sign S, percentage sign S. And what that does is it goes down to this variable here and goes to the variables and gets all of the inputs that the user put. So instead of putting, and you could have just done this, you could have just written brand, model, year, color, type, you could have written them into there and it would have gone and got the variables. But this is just a different way to do it, and this is a way for you guys to learn new ways to do things, right? So it looks like a percentage sign S. Now, it then says, all right, make sure you connect and enter all of the values, which are these values here, and commit them to the database. That's what it does. And if that worked correctly, it says, well done, you've added that car to the database. Now this file is not in a loop. It's not in a while loop or any of those things. So once you've entered the data, that is it. The file will end. You're done there. Or if you chose option 2, you can view the database. So this is how we would go through and do the view. It says if you chose number 2, again, connect to the database, and this time when you connect, select everything from cars. So in other words, go to the cars table and select all of the information. And all of that information, I want you to put into a variable called results. So it says fetch all, it's collected everything, and it's put it into this variable called results. Then we're going to say, if results, so in other words, if it's collected things in results, if it has something in it, right? So if it's got something in it, then I want you to print these headings across the top. So that /n means go to the next line and then print all of these headings. Then the next line says print an underscore 60 times. So it'll print like a straight line across your page. Now when we get to here, for rows in results, remember in class sometimes I talk about this as instead of having the word rows there, you could have the word everything. So for everything in results, so everything that's been selected from the database, where we had select everything from cars, everything that's been selected, what I want you to do is I want you to print whatever that first thing that was fetched in position 1, position 0, position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will line up with these headings. Right, and once that's done, go back and do it for the next row. Once that's done, go back and do it for the next row. And it'll do it as many times as how many rows there are in the database. So if our database at the moment has 6 rows in it, it'll print 6 rows worth of stuff. If it had 100 rows in it, it would print all 100 rows of stuff. So this essentially, this loop here, will keep going until it reaches the maximum number of rows. Now, if when it did this search here and said select everything from cars and result came back with nothing in it, then it would print out no records found. Then it would close the connection and close the connection, the cursor and the connection to the database. So essentially, it's got 2 ways to connect. Either it connects and you enter data, or it connects and you can view data. So let's run it and check it. Let's see if it works. Let's go to here. Let's go run module. And oops, my module's opening down here. Here we go. So I've got 2 options, add a car or view cars. Choose an option. Now I'm going to view cars first because I want to see what's already in there. So I'm just going to hit 2, enter. And there you can see, here's my headings. Here are my 60 underlined lines. And here are the 6 current vehicles that are in the database. Now I want to add a car. So this is where I said to you, we haven't looped this program. You could easily loop this program with a while loop where it's while true, keep running the program and it'll go back and you can keep adding and viewing or whatever. We haven't done that. I haven't done that in Python. If you want to do that, you can do that. At this stage, I just want to add a car. So I'm going to go back to my Python program. I'm going to go run module. And I'm going to, this time, I'm going to say, let's add a car. Let's do number 1 as an option. Hit enter. And I'm going to get an MG. And on the model, I'm going to put MGB. And the year is 1969. And the color is white. And the type is a coupe. So a coupe, hit enter. And the fuel is petrol. Hit enter. Now it says car added. But of course, because I didn't loop the program, I can't run it and test it. So I'm going to have to run it again here. Run module. And this time I could just go view cars 2. And I should have my MG in there as well. And there it is down the bottom. MGB 69 white coupe petrol. So you can see this is how we can get Python to talk to the database, and the information is being sent forward and backward. I can then go to the database itself and I can check it, obviously. Go back to here, go to my web start, go to tools, PHP MyAdmin, and go to my cars database, cars table, and there it is down there, MGB 69 White Coupe Petrol. So I know that it's added it to my database. So that's it. That's how we would do that. Now, obviously, this is a stepping stone. This is the tutorial that teaches you how to get the Python files to talk to the database and the database to talk to the Python files, in the same sense that the previous video was how to get a website to talk to the database and the website to talk and the database to talk back to the website. You will need to expand this for your internal assessment. You'll need to make this into maybe a GUI where you have a graphic user interface where they can click and enter information into boxes on a screen on your own individual app, and you can retrieve information as well on your app. You would definitely need to loop it so that you can have option A and option B, or option 1 or 2. You can choose both of them. You don't want to have to rerun the program every single time. It would be much better looped. But this is the stepping stone. Now, you can add this tutorial in as part of your criterion. I think it's criterion B, the work that you're doing. You write this down as maybe an hour tutorial that you did and practiced and laid it all out and got it working. And this is what you need to do if you're using Python, if you're creating your own app.